Alright everybody, welcome back to Culz Book Reviews. Today we are checking out To Hell on a Fast Horse, the untold story of Billy the Kid and Pat Garrett by Mark Lee Gardner. Now, considering the amounts of Billy the Kid content that we do on the channel and the amounts of Billy the Kid books we have read on the channel, I may surprise people. This was the first time I've read this one in particular, and I had always meant to read it. I just never got around to it, unfortunately. We cover a lot of topics, so sometimes certain books get left behind, but I always kept it on my list, and luckily we have an awesome bookstore in town that sells both new and used books, and cannot pass this one up for the deal I got it at, especially considering the amount of times we talk Billy the Kid on the channel with different guests and the amount of times that this one in particular has come up. So I was really excited to pick it up, so let's check out the book itself. Alright, so looking at the cover here, you see To Hell on a Fast Horse. You see that the Santa Fe New Mexican did give a quote, utterly enthralling and unforgettable. Definitely a word that I would call this book is enthralling. Right here you see a picture of Billy shooting. He is depicted in this picture with long hair, which he does kind of have semi-long hair in the picture, but I think for the most part when we think of Billy, or we see pictures like they've been kind of cropped, so he loses that effect, so it's nice that that was kept. Right there you see the subtitle, The Untold Story of Billy the Kid and Pat Garrett by Mark Lee Gardner. On the side you see To Hell on a Fast Horse, again, The Untold Story of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid by Mark Lee Gardner. And another quote, this time by the Denver Post here in Colorado, as absorbing as a novel. Intriguing. I agree there. Right there you get Mark Lee Gardner's picture, as well as a little bit about him. And unfortunately, no ISBN, unfortunately, today, because I did get it from that Sudden Fiction bookstore here in Cash Rock, and can't get the sticker off, so I didn't want to rip the back cover. Alright, so this one does come in at 257 pages, but for some reason Goodreads listed at over 500, so I don't know if that's a different edition or a edition that has another book attached. I'll have to do some more research there. And as you can see, mainly words, but every so often, let's see if we can find one. There, I just passed it, I'm so bad. There are pictures throughout, usually about a person or place. This one is Paulita Maxwell, who's most known as Billy's girlfriend, the reason why he stayed in Fort Sumner, and eventually was tracked down by Pat Garrett. But let's get into the book. Alright, so my thoughts on this one. Well, I think this might be a shorter review, mainly because we've talked a lot about Billy the Kid, and some of the books we have read in the past go in so much depth on Billy, it's hard to really pick out anything new. This one is credited in some of those books, so obviously it laid the groundwork, and it's always cool to see. Mark Lee has done quite a few different books. I do have Shot to Hell, which is about Jesse James, and definitely one I want to read at some point. We don't do Jesse James quite enough on the channel, so by far that one will be making an appearance at some point. So as far as writing style, this one I would actually kind of say is written more as like a novel, which is really good, especially with history, and kind of weaves the characters through at different waypoints. Obviously, this is a true story, and Mark Lee Gardner does tell you at the beginning, dialogue in the book is based off of, documents or letters and, things that were said for the most part, right? But as far as just kind of saying it's written more like a novel, if you just imagine like a Western novel or something like that versus a textbook. We've read some really, really good, really well-researched books. One in particular that discredited Brushy Bill Roberts, that felt more like reading a textbook and was a slog to read. This was not that. It was always exciting to read, always felt captivating. One that when I sat down to read it on my break or my lunches at work, was very, very excited. Now obviously I did pick this one to read a couple weeks before going down to New Mexico, because that's where the majority of this story takes place, and as always we do visit Lincoln and Fort Sumner, usually to or from our trip down to Roswell every year. And so it's always nice to catch up on the Billy the Kid stuff. And I would say the characterization of Billy seems a little bit different in this one versus like say a James B. Mills' Bandito Simpatico. Both are actually sticking to the historical narrative, Both really well written. Bandito Simpatico right now is my current favorite, so spoiler there as far as rating. But this one does, I think, paint Billy a little bit more ruthless. A lot of times I say the Emilio Estevez Billy the Kid does not connect with me as much. Especially when I was younger, I'd seen Young Guns 1 and 2. I think I enjoyed 2 more, especially with the soundtrack featuring Bon Jovi. But as far as the Billy there, it just didn't seem like a character that people, I guess more myself, wasn't very connected to, because he was very much just on edge the entire time, like he would kill anyone. He's not that much in this book, but he definitely has more of a ruthless nature, or for himself nature, in this book. So again, Mark Lee's just taken the facts he has and formulating this story as far as the historical record to give you that viewpoint, and it's always good to have it. Again, it doesn't demonize Billy, but perhaps does show you a little bit more of who he was. Something else about this book, obviously the subtitle there has Pat Garrett's name in it. The 2 stories intertwine much like they are now due to the obvious reason of Pat Garrett killing Billy the Kid, but it is very well intertwined throughout the story, as far as it doesn't feel like you hop back and forth from one to the other too quickly. It does allow both characters to develop, and it's almost like the assassination of Jesse James in a way, where you see the story with the 2 of them, and then the ending is about Pat. And the ending does go by a little bit faster, and much like that book where Robert Ford says when he's with Jesse James, everything is, time seems to slow down, and then once Jesse's gone, like, the life goes by so quick. And that's kind of what I got from this one, so it's kind of similar in that matter. But I also appreciate it because it tells you more about Pat. I think sometimes Pat kind of gets the wrong end of the stick as far as people, how they portray him or talk about him due to the nature of how he killed Billy. Or this one does go more in depth with just his history at the end. Now, it's not a pure Pat Garrett book, so obviously those pure Pat Garrett books probably go a lot more in depth, but as far as one that tells both sides of the story so far, I would say this one's really good. It goes up to his death, obviously. I think that's always been an interesting one. I've talked about it multiple times. Most recently on the Chasing Billy show, where I talked the fascination that I have that New Mexico's 2 biggest events, Roswell and the purported UFO and Billy the Kid, are somehow almost connected, because Pat Garrett kills Billy, then Garrett's killed possibly by Brazel, whose nephew, Mac Brazel, is the one that purportedly found the UFO and did just get his name unveiled at the UFO Walk of Fame. So stay tuned, we'll have that one coming up to you shortly. But yeah, just kind of a short review, guys. If you want me to do a more in-depth one, I'm more than happy to read this one again. It is a really good read, honestly. So far, I would say, so James B. Mills still my favorite one, Bandito Simpatico. My second one's still probably Endless Ride. I think that one may also just be when I read it, as far as just expanding on certain topics first before I read any other books. It just happened to be that book that did that, and still holds a special place in my heart. So currently I'd probably put this at number 3 as far as the ones we've read for the channel. So I would say probably a solid 8. This one's pretty well written, I would say, just slightly below those 2 and above. Billy the Kid's Grave I enjoy, but this one is more of a complete story with Billy and Pat, obviously, instead of just like focusing on the burial, and reads a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, a little bit more enthralling than that one. So just a hair above that one, but solid 3rd place for a Billy book so far. I do recommend it. Go check it out. You can get it off Amazon. We'll be checking out more of Mark Lee Gardner's books. He does have quite a few Western historical books, and one of them, like I said, is Shot to Hell, which we got to cover more Jesse James. So at some point we'll do that, and who knows, maybe at some point we'll be lucky enough to interview Mark himself and have him talk more about the West. He has an Instagram you can follow what he's up to. But until next time, guys, for more Culz book reviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click the link to your right. And don't forget to hit the like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, is there a Billy the Kid book we need to read? Tell us in the comments below.